This is a purely procedural model that gives us a lot of flexibility to change the model on a very large scale. In other words, I can change global parameters like the amount of bend very easily. And this is a purely non-destructive workflow. That's pretty cool because that means I can change any of these things and there are no negative consequences from that. I could change level of detail, I could change parameters like bend and twist, and nothing's going to break because it's all purely procedural. And when 3ds Max saves and loads a procedural model, it's actually following instructions. In other words, it's not recording the exact position of every point on this model. Rather, it's recording very simple instructions like make a box, give it this number of segments, twist it this amount, and bend it around this amount. That workflow is very useful in some cases, but eventually you'll find that it's limiting because you need to select individual parts of the model and move them around and manipulate them independently. To do that in 3ds Max, you can collapse the modifier stack. And that's a destructive act. When you collapse the modifier stack, you remove all modifiers, and what you're left with is a raw shape. Other programs have similar processes. In Maya, for example, it's called deleting the construction history. It's the same idea. You're taking basic instructions and then converting it down to something a lot simpler. And that then gives you the ability in 3ds Max to manipulate independent components. To collapse the modifier stack, the easiest way is to simply select the object and then right-click in the viewport, and you'll get the pop-up quad menu. This is a context-sensitive menu. What you see here will depend upon what you're currently doing. Down in the lower right-hand corner is Convert To, and the one that you'll usually choose here is Convert to Editable Poly. An editable poly is an object type that gives you a lot of advanced tools for adjusting the shape of a polygon object. I'll go ahead and release the mouse, and as soon as I do that, now you'll see something very different has happened in the modifier stack. No longer do I have a box, no longer do I have a twist or a bend. Instead, that's all been erased, and what I'm left with is an editable poly object. It has a lot of tools, and we'll be covering some of these later in the course. At this point, we've converted it to an editable poly, and now we're ready to go in and select sub-objects and move them around in the next movie.